Hey everybody, welcome back. This is one of our bonus episodes, and this episode today is going to be about our Premier League predictions. Joining me as always is Jer.
Hello.
What's going on, Jer?
Not a lot.
Yeah, you
No.
all right?
I'm good. Yeah, looking forward to some sunshine in the summer. Would be nice, wouldn't it?
I got a little bit. I was in London last week. Got a little bit of sun. Saw a few bits and pieces. Great city, but yeah, I got absolutely lashed out of it as well. So such is the way in this part of the world in July. But yeah, no, it's good to be back, and I'm looking forward to this Premier League season. And yeah, we've just put together a kind of a prediction of our tables for this upcoming season. We haven't looked at each other's homework at all, so I'm looking forward to. You seem nervous about your picks.
I'm not confident that this is an accurate depiction of what the Premier League will be. And then you said to me before you come on, do you want to redo it? I went, I'm still not confident I'll do it any differently. I think it'll look the exact same.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams, I think the Premier League gets split into three brackets this year. Last year it was very much a top 10, bottom 10, where any team in the top 10 for a lot of last season could have made the European spots. We talked about Villa before, they making it. But then when you look down below that from 11th down to the bottom, up until maybe the last 5 weeks of the season, any of those teams could have gone down. Like, again, Crystal Palace, before they made the decision to get rid of Vieira and bring White Hodgson back in, were dropping like a rock. And they were nailed on to go down. And then they fixed and got better. So this year, I think, look at the teams that are in it, you will have a very much a bottom six, a top six, and then the rest of them hammering around the middle for the bottom European spots.
Yeah, I mean, the way we're going to break this down is that we've got our, the bottom three, of course, who's going to get relegated, but we're going to, that's kind of like a bottom six because anyone there can get relegated. And then there's kind of the middle kind of chunky, creamy center of mediocrity. And then we've got the top six, which are going to be, it's the creamy center of mediocrity.
The Cadbury's cream egg goo of the Premier League.
Exactly. And then the thick, chunky chocolate outer casing, which is the top six. So yeah, people who are going to be obviously pushing for Champions League places and getting into the Europa as well. So will we kick this off with our bottom three?
Well, let's start with the bottom one.
Bottom one, I think everyone can safely assume who's going to be in the bottom one.
I have Luton Town.
Me too.
Why?
Listen, very small club, bit of a fairy tale that they got into the Premiership in the first place. There, I think, Mrs. Anderson has her living room and her front door right beside the turnstiles of the stadium. I think people are going to be,
I love it though.
Smashing balls through her front window when it's going out for a throw. It's fantastic. It's romantic. I think they fully intend on going back down.
It's going to upset so many prima donna footballers when they have to walk into smaller dressing rooms and go in through someone's side passage or into the exit where it's in the shop.
It's going to be fantastic.
I love that. And I'm delighted to see Luton Town in the Premier League. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year. I think they will be my team that I keep an eye on in the Premier League next season because obviously mine aren't in it.
Yeah.
But they have lost a lot of players that they had on loan last season, and they're not bringing in players that I think are of a caliber that will do anything to push them above what's already in the Premier League.
Yeah,
they've got a good manager. I think they'll try and play some stuff. I don't think they'll come into the Premier League and sit back and do nothing, which is probably why they'll go down.
Yeah,
but I unfortunately
take their nice parachute payment on the way out of the league, and then try and get back in and maybe establish themselves and replace Mrs. Anderson's windows.
Well, it could be a double bounce. This is what's interesting, and Fulham have done this a couple of times. Norwich have done it with less success.
Yeah.
Drop down, take the 100 million parachute payment the first season because it's broken 3 years. Take the 100 million the first year. If you haven't increased your wage bill, that's spectacular, which they won't have done. They will have relegation reduction clauses in players' contracts. If they go down, then you've got the 100 million to bank. You buy better players at top championship player level. Then you go back into the Premier League, they're probably bottom half Premier League players anyway. So you could do it again the next time, do a bit better. But look, they could surprise everybody. I'm just guessing, but I think Luton at the bottom of the pile for me.
I fully agree. Second to bottom.
I have Everton.
Ooh.
I knew you'd make a face like that at some point during this. I expect that face to happen a couple of more times during this.
No faith in Daishi.
I don't think Daishi's going to get what he wants. I don't think the kind of players that he wants are there. He did a fantastic job last season keeping Everton up, and he did a really, really good job because he did kind of sacrifice some of his more direct football times to appeal to the players that they have there. I just don't think they've brought good enough players in. I think they've lost too many players. I think their squad is, as squad depth goes, I think it's weaker than it was last season. And Everton fan will tell me I'm wrong, but I think just from looking at it, and I don't think Dan Jim is going to set the world on fire. He's a decent player, but I don't think he's going to get them all the goals they're going to need.
Sure.
I think they need to still do big money. As we mentioned before in a previous episode, Willie Nanto from Leeds has been linked with them as well.
Yeah.
He would get them a good few goals, really exciting player to watch, but I don't think he suits Sonday's style, so I don't think he gets the best out of him. So yeah, for me, I think Everton will struggle next season in a lovely, sparkly new stadium that looks to me could be destined for the championship. I don't think they fixed their issues over the last 2 years, and also we're pointing out. I've also put this down because I do expect them to get found guilty of financial fair play breaches, which would be a point deduction immediately.
Okay, very interesting. I have Wolves. I think they're doomed.
Yeah.
I think they're absolutely doomed. In the last episode, we were speaking about an interview that Lopetegui has done with Guillaume Balag, who's if you don't know him, a Spanish journalist who's on Sky Sports quite a bit. Very revealing interview about their financial fair play implications. They're broke. They've brought very few players in. They've sold Nathan Collins, who's a very good defender, in my opinion. They've gotten rid of Ruben Neves. They've lost Yan Moutinho. They sold Raul Jimenez.
And the Beast.
Old oily arms himself.
Oily arms are gone.
Old greasy arms Adama Traore is gone. I think they are an absolute shell of a team. And I think Lopetegui he will lose his rag halfway through the season with what he's got to work with. I think Wolves are going to be eviscerated unless something magic happens them in the transfer market. I think they're doomed.
I think if a Marco Silva style offer from Saudi was to come to Lopetegui, I think he might consider making the move.
Gonzo, yeah.
He is a man of respect, of morals and respect. So I think he's doing this job out of I signed up to it. I have to stay at honor my contract, which is lovely to see. And I do like Wolves. I've always liked Wolves.
I like Wolves.
Steve Bull and Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane got a start there. Yeah, exactly. So I think Wolves are doomed. So, okay, rounding out your bottom three.
Wolves.
Okay, great.
I'm third and bottom.
So for the exact same reasons. Okay, fair enough. Sheffield United for me.
Yep, next, 17th.
So we have the exact same bottom three.
We have the exact same bottom four. You haven't got Everton, have you?
No.
So we have three of the bottom four with the same.
Okay.
So you're going to your last of your bottom three is Sheffield United.
Is Sheffield United. I think they're going to do what Sheffield United always do, which is come up, say hello, and then go straight back down. They just don't have the manpower. I just don't think they have what it takes. And I think Everton, while poor, will have more than those three.
I have Sheffield United.
But that points deduction is a very interesting. I didn't think about that.
If they don't get points deduction, they don't go down, and Sheffield United do for me. So if they don't get the points deduction for me, my bottom three is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
Sheffield United, Wolves, Luton. But I'm expecting them to get found guilty of that. So therefore I have them with whatever points deduction, but enough to put them down.
Okay.
They've flirted with it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Big time. And I don't think they've made enough steps to get better, to get away from it.
I understand. I do think they'll do better without Lampard. I think he was an appalling appointment, and I think he went a long way to putting them into the trouble that they were in. I still think they just about have enough to stay up. But anyway, okay, so one spot above bottom three. Who have you got?
17th position, I've got Sheffield United.
You've got Sheffield United.
For the same reasons you said.
Yeah. I have Bournemouth. I think they'll do just enough to stay up. They've made some decent signings, but I just think that's where they belong. They're just gonna escape relegation. I don't think they're gonna move up the table. I think the Eddie Howe days are gone, and I think they're just about going to stay safe. I think they've done enough. I think they've bought well.
I think they'll buy more as well,
and they might buy more. I think they've bought well enough to stay up. But that's my second to bottom. Right, next.
16th position.
16th position. Who have you got?
Burnley.
Okay.
I haven't got Bournemouth near there. I have them way higher.
Okay.
So I have Burnley down there again. They've come up with company. I think he may have first season joy in the Premier League enough to keep him up. He does like to play a nice brand of football. I don't know if they brought enough players in of the level it needed to stay up, but they've got a good squad. He did a really good job with them last season, but they do need to add quality to that team for the Premier League. So I had them surviving. I think they'll do decently at different times. They'll cause a couple of shocks, and they won't be the Burnley that everyone has seen before in the Premier League. So for the casual fans who watch their team and don't watch someone don't watch teams that leave the Premier League, they're coming back a very different side than they went down. So I think they will have enough in terms of the style of play the company will bring there to do well. The only potential issue is if teams in the top half of the table lose a manager and they're after somebody, I think company could be picked up pretty quickly. Yeah, for sure. Okay, give me your 15th, and then I'll kind of give my 15th and 16th. I have Nottingham Forest in 15th. again, flirted with it last season. I don't know if Steve Cook will get the same amount of patience from the owner, even if the fans are backing him like they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it does start badly, the owner will make a change quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he should. I do rate Steve Cook as a coach. I think he's a very good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that they've stuck with him till now.
Yeah,
but I think
sure.
Any of that 6 down there for me, any of that 6 could go down automatically.
Yeah, for sure. I have Forest in 16th. Again, I think they'll do enough to stay up. I don't think they're going to rip up any trees. I think, as we mentioned in our previous episode, I think their front three could be really interesting with Elanga, Brennan Johnson, and Chris Wood. I think that could be a very interesting and potent front three, but we'll see how it goes. And then I have Everton in 15th. I think Everton will still be thereabouts, down the bottom. I think for the reasons you explained, but I think they'll do enough to stay up. But I just think they're better than Sheffield, Wolves, and Luton. Yeah. I think Forest and Bournemouth, I do think they're going to do better than Forest and Bournemouth. I think Sean Dyche has a conservative style. I think he's going to be able to tighten things up where Lampard failed. I don't think he'll be overly ambitious. I think he'll turn a lot of Lampard's losses into draws. And I think they'll just be thereabouts.
So our bottom 6 is, I'm correct. I have Forest. Do you have Forest?
My bottom 6 is Everton, Forest, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Wolves, and Luton.
We're one different from each other.
Not close. Pretty close. All right. Good stuff.
So let's go 14th then. Out of the bottom 6. And do you want to do a different? Do you want to go a different direction now?
No. Let's do the creamy center. I hate it more and more every time I say it.
It gets creepier every time you say it.
It does, doesn't it? It does.
I was initially going to say also the big chocolates for the top guys. That's for the if you want the nice chocolate, that's for the top guys. But if you want the fun, that's in the middle.
Yeah, that's true.
The fun is in the middle.
To be fair. Okay. Do we want to go from bottom up? So from 14th up.
What you got?
I have got Palace next. I think Palace will be able to utilize Roy's good management. I think they've lost players they're really going to miss. I think there's going to be a huge weight of expectation on their attacking players. I think Etsy, I think, is going to have a breakout season. I think he's going to be able to fill in Zaha's shoes very, very well. But I don't think they're going to have much in the way of firepower to get themselves up into the top half. I hope they keep Olise. And if they keep Guhi, I know a lot of teams are in for Guhi as well. If they manage to keep those players, I think they'll have enough to kind of comfortably be floating around in the middle ground.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're in a position where they need to sell.
Yeah.
Outside of the players I've left.
Yeah.
I have Fulham.
Okay.
It's not looking great for them right now. Mitrovic is looking like he's off.
Mm.
Or by the time you watch this, he's probably already gone. But Cans have money. And I think Tony Khan is a smart enough owner to realize where the gaps were the last time they went down. I think he'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at who they brought in as well so far, I think he'll make moves. I think they'll be okay. I think if Marco Silva turning down Saudi Arabia to stay at Fulham is a massive statement and fair play to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he deserves a huge amount of credit for doing that.
40 million quid apparently he turned down.
To stay. Fair play to him because we've seen.
I think that's. Yeah, fair play to him. I don't know if I'd have done it.
Well, it's nice to see somebody with a moral compass because we've seen Jordan Henderson go there as well. Jordan Henderson, who famously, insisted on wearing the LGBTQ armband, and it's now taking the big money and gone to the country where it's illegal. So it's that's not a judgment of Jordan Henderson. That's we talked about before. It's just a comment. Jordan Henderson is now getting, what did you call it?
Generational wealth.
Generational wealth.
Yeah,
and it's impossible to turn that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So I have Palace, you Fulham, 13th.
Bournemouth.
Burnley for me. So Bournemouth, do you think they're going to
I am going
stick
off
around the centre?
Fact, I think our Areola's style of football will catch a lot of people off.
You're just a sucker for a Bielsa disciple, aren't you?
I'm not.
You're still in love with Bielsa, aren't you?
I always will be. I always will be.
Okay.
It's true love, mate.
Yeah, it is.
It's true love.
He did right by you guys.
But no, I think Areola is a good coach, and I think he'll catch an awful lot of coaches and other managers in the Premier League off guard early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll do an awful lot of their work that they need to do to get safe in the first half of the season. I think then it'll start to change. It'll be similar to what happened with Bielsa. It'll be similar to what happened with Vieira when it gets to the second season. The managers have to figure out their style and strategies and how they play football.
Yeah,
start to close that down. Then Up until that point, the top 6 will go against teams like Bournemouth. They won't worry about what Bournemouth are doing. They'll worry about what they have to do themselves. And that, unfortunately, sometimes allows managers like that to get the edge on them and catch them by surprise.
Yeah.
You know how much Jesse Marsh last year at Leeds when he beat Liverpool at Anfield and they beat Chelsea as well. You know, you can catch these teams off guard when they're not expecting it. I think the second season, then they need a bigger investment of cash, which I don't think they have. But yeah, I like Areola. I think he'll do well for Bournemouth initially.
Sure. Yeah, I have Burnley in there. I think there's going to be a good first season bounce. I think Company is going to do what so many teams that have come up from the Championship do in their first season, which I think they're going to be a different outfit. I think they're going to be hard to beat. I don't think he's going to be as gung ho as he was previous season. And the fact that he's a defensive minded player, he's going to bring that kind of sensible approach to games. I think they're going to have a reasonably good season. So I have them in at 13th. All right, 12th.
Well, before you do that, I think you can attract some defenders as well. Because if I'm a young defender, going to play for Vincent Company, I'm only going to get better as a defender.
Sure.
He has that as well.
I think he's got a big pull for the transfers as well. I think he's going to bring an air of glamour that maybe Sean Dyche had removed from Burnley. I think people would be excited to join that Burnley team, particularly how they performed last year. So I think they're going to be comfortably mid-table.
Yeah, I had them staying up, but yeah, some reasons. Who are we going to?
12.
12. Crystal Palace.
Palace, I have Brentford. So I think without
safe mid-table.
I think without Ivan Toney for the beginning of the season, I think it's going to be a slow start for them. I think once he comes back in January, they'll maybe move up a few places. And Mbeumo has got a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. I think I like the manager. I think he's very good. I think Brentford will not do as well as they did last year. They did start to fall off a little bit towards the end.
They were safe at that stage, though.
It's not that I don't think they could go higher. I just think the teams that are ahead of them are just stronger. It's not a reflection on Brentford. It's just what's ahead of them, I think, is stronger.
It's that middle bracket you can interchange. Like you're saying all this stuff out loud, and I'm going, yeah, actually, do you know what? I would have had them behind Palace now that you're saying that, but I don't in this table. But Thomas Frank's a good manager.
Yeah.
And he's gotten past that second season syndrome. He's got his own style of play. Brentford just go out and do their own thing and screw the rest of the Premier League, where Russell will do our own thing.
Yeah.
Tight ground as well, good atmosphere.
They need a 16-goal Ivan Toney, though, to keep people busy at the back, and they won't have him.
Yeah, they've got a decision to make there.
They've got a real big decision to make. But I think once he comes back in January, refreshed, ready to go with a point to prove, I think they'll start. They're going to make a lot more points in the second half of the season. I think Brentford will be around the 15, 16, 17 mark at the beginning of the season, but I think they'll move up.
Yeah, I think so. I have Palace in that position. I have Palace as 12th. Again, similar reasons. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they'll do enough to get into the European spots. I think they could be anywhere between 12th and 9th, realistically, to float around in that middle gap. That's why I say I think there'll be a mid division within the Premier League this year. I think there'll be a couple of clubs who they're too good to go down, but they're not good enough to get into the European spots, and they'll just bounce around. One or two of them might surprise if an extra Conference League or Europa League spot opens up. Maybe they nip in there and they get that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Michael Elise. I think this is a big year for him. He's still a young lad starting to move into his mid-20s now. I like Michael Elise. He's a tight passer of ball. He uses it really well. And he's a player that I know Roy Hodgson's quite likes as well. And Eze will get a bigger platform this year with Hodgson.
I really do. Okay, that was 12th.
Yeah.
All right, who have you got 11?
West Ham United. Now, I think they've got European situation this year again. They did struggle last year with the amount of games they had to play. They have not completely spent the Declan Rice money. They could potentially challenge for a European spot, the Conference League, Europa League.
We will revise this
at Christmas.
We will revise this when the window closes
and see if we still agree.
But as things stand, they got a bit of money to spend. They haven't spent yet.
They need to spend it cleverly.
Yeah.
But they also need to fatten that squad out a little bit as well. They can't be relying on the same 15, 16 players to get them through all their competitions. Like even when they rotate their players, their first team players are still on the bench.
Antonio's a year older. Lanzini is gone. Hopefully Benrahma comes back into form. Susek had that great season 2 or 3 seasons ago. Hopefully he comes back into things. So, we'll see. Fornals is still there, isn't he?
Fornals is still there.
Yeah.
Again, a player who just didn't step up as much last year as he has, but did in Europe. But good player. Another good player, just needs to find form again.
Yeah.
But I think West Ham will be fine. I think they might even win a cup along the way, the League Cup or maybe another Europa League Cup, maybe, because if you win the Conference League, do you go into the Europa League the next year?
Europa League, they're straight into the Europa League.
If you don't get through that, they'll go into the Conference League and they can probably win that.
Bingo,
again,
exactly. 11th, I have Fulham. Again, they're going to miss Mitrovic. I don't know, like they've got Raul Jimenez coming in to replace him. I don't think that is even close to a like-for-like swap
That's not
in terms of age profile or goal output.
style play.
The Raul Jimenez of 2 or 3 years ago, he was getting a goal every 2 games. I remember he was
Exactly.
being linked with all the big teams, 60, 70 million euro, got that awful head injury, and he just really hasn't been the same since. But that's who they've brought in for 5 million. Bit of a snip. If they do lose Mitrovic, who they haven't lost yet, do I think Raul Jimenez is a backup to someone else? Yes, probably. But I think it's just mid-table for them. They've got Willian. They might get Fred. And with Andreas Pereira, Willian, and Fred as your midfield 3, that's a decent midfield. I think it's a very capable midfield that stays exactly where it deserves to be, which is in the middle. Pereira could kick on yet again. He had a very good breakout season with Fulham last year. And I think with a little bit more experience, with the likes of Fred and Willian, 2 other Brazilians, and that's an all Brazilian midfield. I think they could really do something, but with that target man missing up the front, I think that's why they sit 11th. If they still had Mitrovic, I would have had them slightly higher. But it looks like he's not going to play for them again. So
conversations in that midfield that no one else will understand except for those 3.
Yeah,
they can literally speak their native language to each other in the middle of the park and just have a slight advantage on people
until they're playing United,
and then they lost.
But I think that's a midfield 3. I'm actually really excited to see, provided those transfers go through. But yeah, we'll see. But even without Fred, it's still Paulinho, which is going to be a very strong midfield 3.
And I assume they'll spend that 40 million they get for Mitrovic on that player. But again, we keep saying it. 20-goal season strikers are hard to come by. Everyone's looking for
hands teeth, man.
And if a club knows you've got 40 million spent on a striker, all of a sudden the striker you want to buy is worth 50 million.
Yeah. I have West Ham in 10th only because I am assuming that they're going to be buying players like Scott McTominay or Conor Gallagher. I think they're going to maybe get Maguire. So I am basing this on predictive transfers that I think will go through. I think just mid-table. Huh?
I mean, if Maguire, McTominay go there, if they bring in, who did you say there?
McTominay. What do you mean? Bring in
Conor Gallagher.
Conor Gallagher goes
in there, and if they add, even Alex Scott, who's been mentioned from Bristol City, good player, they add them there. That's not a bad looking side.
It's exactly mid-table. I think it's where it deserves to be. I don't think they're going to pull ahead of the teams we're going to get into, but I think they're going to be the best of the rest. Before we start getting into the people here, I think can. All of the top 9 here, I think, can push into the top 6. So yeah, let's crack into that. Who have you got 9th?
9th, I got Brighton.
Bingo, me too.
Be fine.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine as long as they keep a hold of Caicedo. There's no transfer gossip about Estupiñán, which I'm shocked at. Yeah. They still haven't gotten rid of Sanchez, their keeper. It looks like Steele is going to stay number 1.
Doing the business early as well.
Yeah, Evan Ferguson's going to be a year older. So am I. I think if Evan Ferguson is going to kick on a year more experience, I think he'll play a little bit more. Danny Welbeck actually played quite well. They've still got Solly March, Matoma, Pascal Gross. If they keep Caicedo and they've got Estupiñán, I think it's just going to be more the same from Brighton. You do think that he might suffer a little bit of what Leeds went through under Bielsa, that people will kind of figure them out a bit?
I think a lot of managers will be more aware of the style of football that De Zerbi plays.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it'll have the same impact that when they did that with Bielsa, because he doesn't play a man-marking system as such. So that was a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think he'll still do fine. I had them 9th. I think they'll be fine. They'll be safe. They're a very well-run club. I think they will sell Caicedo, but I think they'll sell him for big bucks.
Yeah.
And I think they'll reinvest that money cleverly. They've already, but looks things have already reinvested a lot of that already. They make some smart moves, bringing like James Milner, who is an older player, but has a huge experience to head in the dressing room, will have a massive impact there as well. Igor coming in from Fiorentina is a good signing from the defensive capability. He's a good ball playing centre back who's big, strong, and powerful. I think he'll have a good season as well. I think they'll be fine. I think and they could potentially even nip into Europe. I think they're overdue a little run in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was probably their big chance, and they took it. So I think with those European fixtures combined with the Premiership and with other teams strengthening quite significantly and not being the versions of themselves last year that they will be next year, I think they will slip slightly, but I think they're going to be very comfortable in the middle of the table.
They're fattening the squad out, which is what's needed for Europe.
Yeah, so, for sure. 8th.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Bingo, me too.
No way.
Yeah. Okay, we've been pretty well aligned this entire table. And I think it's going to get more and more similar as we go up. So
I hated doing this table.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, that's about
You hated your opinion. Mine was similar. And I was sitting there going, this is absolutely how things are going to end. I'm very confident. I'm going to call up Paddy and try and put on a bet.
To get to the top 3.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Okay, so Spurs.
Spurs, yeah.
Give me your lowdown.
I like Ange Postecoglou. I've said it before. I
Yeah.
think he's a fantastic coach. I think he'll do
Mhm.
really, really well there. I think if they lose Harry Kane, which are expected to, I don't have the confidence they will fill the amount of goals lost by him by getting another player in.
They've lost Lucas Moura as well.
Yeah, which is less of a worry because he was more of a fringe player the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But did score big goals at big moments for them.
Mm.
Did he move Sonny back in there to go off and buy? They've historically had an issue buying second strikers. Like I don't class Sonny as a second striker. I class him as a wide player or 10.
Who's Son?
Son,
Yeah. He's a left wide forward.
I call him Sonny because every FIFA career mode I do, he's in my team. I just love the kid. He's a great player. I love him as a pro. He's a lovely pro. But I think they'll struggle there, and I think they've still got issues at the back, and they need to sort their goalkeeping situation out as well, because I think Hugo Lloris is past the point where you can keep making excuses for some of the mistakes that he's made.
I think they're 8th with Kane and or who they replace him with, but if they sell Kane and don't replace him correctly, I can see Spurs dropping, because as good as you think Ange might be, you can only work with what you've got. And I can see Brighton and West Ham and Fulham pushing Spurs if they don't. Without Kane's 30 goals last season, where were Spurs?
That's the problem.
They were 14th, 15th easily. They could, maybe even worse.
But it is the problem of all the top sides, with the exception of maybe Man City, because they managed to get goals from everywhere else in the team.
Yeah.
But getting Haaland just made them unstoppable last year. When they signed Haaland last year, everyone went for the win the Champions League, and they did.
Yeah,
that's all they were missing. With Spurs, they lose their top striker. If Liverpool lose their best striker, if Salah goes, it's a huge ask to replace those goals. Chelsea struggled last year to get anybody to replace those goals, to get those goals for them. So it's a massive problem. And if your Spurs have been knocking on the door of the top 2 for so long, and now your top goal scorer, your historical top goal scorer for years, looks for all intents and purposes like he's out the door. I really didn't like that stunt from the German press guy either, who presented Ange with a Harry Kane Bayern Munich jersey. I thought it was cheap and tactless.
Surprising from that lot, because they're usually...
I'd have thrown him out. I know apparently his credentials were taken off of him for the next press conferences.
Odd move for Bayern.
I'd have kicked him out of press conference.
I don't know whether Bayern are feeling the pressure of... I think they can smell themselves slipping into being a second-rate European team.
Qualify for Champions League every year, maybe get out of group stages, but don't do anything else.
Yeah, and I think Dortmund have developed a really good brand for themselves, where all the best 18 to 22-year-olds in Europe will go to Dortmund, because Dortmund know their place, which is can push for a Bundesliga. We'll have a decent run. They should have. We'll have a decent run in Europe, but we're a selling club. Bayern have too much hubris to ever call themselves a selling club. They never let go of players unless they really want them to go, but they're slipping out of the power positions in Europe simply because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
And German players are going to start going to youth setups in Europe and to Dortmund. And I just think Bayern are feeling a huge amount of pressure, which, to their credit, they were the first club to pull out of the Super League idea.
Yeah.
To their credit.
They're fan owned.
If any club needed a Super League,
it was them.
It's Bayern. And they pulled out of it, which I think is to their credit. I think Bayern are in real trouble, but maybe that's why they're acting improperly. But anyway, we're not going to talk about Bundesliga. Spurs, 8.
Yep.
Okay, number 7.
Aston Villa.
Me too.
No way.
Yep.
This is very
aligned. Very aligned.
Good coach. Really good transfer business so far.
Yeah.
They're not done. I think they'll strengthen again. And I think they'll strengthen again in January when they get a look at it. I keep saying it. I think Monchi's a fantastic addition.
Yeah.
And he will attract good players from Spain and across Europe as well. Yeah, I think they will be fine. Good manager, decent players already. Good additions.
Yeah, I think so. Everything you said, they've signed really, really well. I don't think they're going to better what they did last season, despite where they were when he took over, just because I think everyone ahead of them is just a little bit too strong. They could be 6-7 points ahead of 8th.
Yeah.
But I still think they're going to be 5-6 points behind 6th. I think they're just going to be this lonely island in 7th.
Comfortable.
We might get Europe. We're definitely not slipping into a relegation battle. We give a good game to the top guys and we'll spank most of the people below us.
Fulham last year.
It's Fulham last year.
Safe all season.
Exactly. That's what I feel.
Every now and then you thought, oh, maybe, and then nah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 6th.
6th, I have Liverpool.
Ooh, interesting.
There's the face. You see, I thought I get that at least.
I get it though. I get it.
It's not because I think Liverpool are a bad side. It's not because I think Klopp's time finishes into his eighth 8th season in Liverpool, is it?
Unbelievable.
He's gone past that 7-year
gone
itch
so
that he had
fast.
at Dortmund, that things went bad there. My reason for this is literally, I think the players Liverpool are bringing in right now are very clever. I think the younger players that they brought in before, they've loaned out this season, good players like Carvalho. I think they're good players. I think Liverpool are going through a rebuild.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take time.
Yeah.
I think they'll still qualify for Europe next year. I think they'll still float around. They might even win the FA Cup or the League Cup. I think they'll still be a good side. But I think there is a transition happening in their attacking position. Salah probably being the only one that's hanging on. And I think he could go in the next 2 years. But I think Liverpool have done very well bringing in some good younger players into that side as well. The likes of McAllister, we talked about that before. Have some experience, but this is a big step up for them as well. And they need the front guys to start hitting form. Diaz and Darwin Núñez need to start scoring more regularly for Liverpool this season to have a chance of doing better. They could punch anywhere into the top 4. Again, top 6 I think is movable. But on what I wrote down, I think there will be some surprises this year. I think Liverpool will be a comfortable 6th.
Okay, so you actually think they're going to do worse than last season?
Where did they finish in last season?
5th.
Did they get to 5th? Could be
no. They were 5th because then it was Newcastle.
Yeah.
Then United. Then Arsenal. Then City. You think they'll be worse?
See, this is the
this year.
This is the bit where I thought, I don't like my table. I don't like what I've written down here. But then when I keep looking at it, going,
I do like my table. I don't know how to change it.
I have logic and emotion banging off each other. And they're going, I think Liverpool are a very good side. I think they play very good football. I really like Jurgen Klopp as a coach. I really like Jurgen Klopp as a manager. I think he's a very good manager. All aspects of what he does. But I just think that other teams above them will spend bigger this year and will kick faster.
Okay. 6 for me is Chelsea. I think they are currently a mid-table squad. They are.
They were, yeah.
Well, they were 12th last season, but that was just a freak because the place was a complete 600 million quid and you finished 12th. It's unbelievable. And they're a selling club, apparently, to their fans.
One of their fans said that.
Yeah. One of their fans, yeah. It's not fair to paint them all the same.
After 600 million spent, you're going to say, look, another player got a mid-table selling side.
Yeah. I think Chelsea... Do you know what? I mean, just because I respect Pochettino as a coach, I think he'll get them top 6.
Yeah.
But based on their squad, if they still had Potter or someone else in charge, I genuinely thought Chelsea be 10th again.
Yeah, I agree.
Aubameyang gone. Lukaku, they don't want him anymore. Ziyech can't get a move from his medical. Sterling misfiring and probably at the end of his career, given the type of player he is, small, fast.
He's due a Fulham move, isn't he?
Yeah. He's gone. Mudryk, completely overhyped. Enzo Fernandez, I think a little bit overhyped or certainly overpriced.
Yes.
Pulisic, gone. Mount, gone. All their defenders, crocked. And their keeper situation, Mendy is gone, and Aretha Balaga has not been able to nail down a spot in that team in 3-4 seasons. Yeah. I do think Pochettino will get a tune out of the remaining players. I think there is something to work with there. I think they could as easily be 10th as they are 6th. I'm really looking forward to see who they got up front. Nkunku could do really well.
Actually, Jackson.
And this new Jackson kid could
scored
be good.
2 in his debut in preseason and looked really sharp in the box. Could be a big surprise for a lot of teams.
I think Jackson and Nkunku will be able to mask over some of the issues that they have. Maybe Mudryk will spark. Maybe Sterling will kind of regain a little bit of form outside of the circus. We saw it happen at United the previous season. A lot of players who had football in them just didn't play well due to all sorts of events going on around the club. I like Sterling as a player. I really respect him. I hope he gets back into form. I really like him, even though he's played for every single team that I hate. But listen, I've got them at 6th. So I think they're going to squeeze into Europe. 5th.
5th, I have Chelsea.
Okay.
For the same reasons that you just said.
Yeah.
I think Poch will get them there.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they'll be a much fitter team this year than they were last year. I think the conditioning was a problem last year. I think that we sorted it this year.
Well, he will absolutely sort that out. He's an absolute demon for that kind of training.
Having issues with their kits, apparently. This new badge, this new bubbled kind of reflective badge and nice sign. There's a photograph taken of it, and they don't have a sponsor this year because 3 back there out of the contract after the Russia stuff.
Yeah.
Don't have a sponsor currently on their jersey, but apparently it's so reflective, and blue is one of the colors that's in it, that there are times where it looks like a plain blue jersey with no markings at all on it.
Oh, weird.
So you can't see the badge at times, depending on the lighting.
That's strange.
It was weird looking, but it's a lovely kit.
It might have been an Fergie excuse if he plays a bad game. All the reflective badges.
I do like a kit without a sponsor, though. It has that classical.
It does have that kind of 70s look, but I wouldn't want my team to be 50 million worse off every year. So we'll see what happens there.
And Chelsea.
Okay, did we say fifth? You have fifth, Chelsea?
You got fifth.
Newcastle. I think they'll miss out in the top 4 because I just don't think they will have enough to beat who I will reveal as my top 4, which is pretty obvious now. But I think good side. I think for them to get fifth, I think is a good finish. They had a free run at the top 4 with a Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool team that basically weren't in the race. So I think they kind of got a bit of a free stab at it. They did quite well. They're going to have a lot more games under their belt. They've introduced a lot more new players. I think Isaac is going to do really well for them. I think Callum Wilson will be doing really well to have a season like he did last season. I hope he does. But I think fifth would be a very respectable and credible position for them to finish, given what's ahead of them.
Okay, you're going fourth.
Arsenal.
Cover it.
I don't think they will have enough to get ahead of who are now City, United, and Liverpool. I think they need a striker. I think they've got too many playmakers. They don't have enough. They don't have enough people to put it in the onion bag as a focal point. Maybe they won't need it. I don't know. I think they're going to have a good season, but they're going to have a lot more games with Europe. And I think that's going to be a very different animal to what they experienced last season. I also don't think they have many leaders in the team.
They've lost.
I don't see the leaders in that team. Xhaka's gone, and even Arsenal fans had a problem with him. I look around that team and go, okay, maybe Jorginho, he doesn't start. Is it going to be Havertz? No. Is it going to be Martinelli, Saka?
This is Liverpool or Arsenal talking about?
Sorry?
This is Liverpool or Arsenal talking
This is Arsenal's fourth.
Oh, you've Arsenal fourth?
Yeah, of Arsenal fourth.
Look at mine.
So I don't think they have enough leaders in that team. Odegaard, okay, good player, but I don't see the leadership in that team. I just don't. There's a lot of youth. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I think they're going to slip down to fourth.
See, that's where I think Declan Rice steps in. That's where I think he fills that gap.
Okay.
As a leader. But I think I do agree they probably need more. However, I have them somewhere else.
Yeah.
I have Manchester United in fourth.
You bad man.
Now, I don't think there will be many points between the top 6.
Okay.
I think you'll get the usual thing will happen. I think the team that wins the Premier League will pull away a little bit.
Is this your dirty Leeds bias?
No, not at all. Not at all. I wouldn't have you in the top 4 if I thought it was the dirty Leeds bias.
Fair.
I'd have you in the National League.
Fair enough.
I mean, if every owner in the Premier League just voted to kick you out of the league, they could. And then the EPL said, we don't want you. I mean, National League football is possible.
It's absolutely true.
It's always the dream.
You can dream.
I can. I think it'll be very tight amongst top 6. There'll be very few points between them. I think it'll come down to head-to-heads probably with them and how they get on against each other. I am of a slightly different take on the transfers that you have with Manchester United. I think Manchester United won't get the deals that they think they're going to get or hoping to get, because I don't think the transfer market has been as helpful to Manchester United the last 2 windows as it was before that. When you saw players like Sancho being linked early on in transfer windows with Manchester United, you're like, yeah, they'll get him, but they'll get him on deadline day. This will drag out for the entire summer. It'll be a big drama, and all of a sudden they'll get what they want, and they'll get him for the price they want. I think teams are less likely to play ball at Manchester. I think that's why Man United are having a little bit trickier time of getting players that they should have picked up.
But they're doing their business early this time. Do you not think that's a sign of professionalism? No. They're getting the players in for less than the amounts that are being quoted.
Yeah, but I don't think they're having it as easy as they have had it before. And I think things have, I mean, look at.
You think they've had it easy?
No, I think they've had it easier than they have it now. I think
really?
Yeah. Now, just again, I don't think there'll be many points. I could be wrong. They could finish second. They could win it. I don't think there's going to be. I honestly think the top 6 gap this year will be tiny, but I think the gap between 6 and the rest of the teams will be big.
Okay, that makes sense.
That goes back to that point that I'm saying about the 3 divisions. I think the top 6 will be its own little entity that will just pull away from everybody. Mid-table safe lads will just be hanging around doing their own thing. Yeah. And then the bottom 6 or 7 will be fighting out till the end of the season for who goes down for the last 2 spots.
Okay.
I think Luton will be gone early, and then the next 2 will be see what happens. But I'm not convinced Højlund is exactly what Manchester United need right now for the number. And I agree with what you said about him. I think he is a player that will be brilliant in a couple of years' time, but they do need a Harry Kane. And I'm not 100% convinced that they get Harry Kane. And if they don't get a Harry Kane, I don't see them winning the league.
Fair. Okay, understand all those points.
Angry though. Look how angry you are.
No. Listen. I'm delighted you've said this, so I can just ram it down your throat by the end of the season. Okay, so I've Arsenal 4th, you've United 4th. Okay, 3rd.
Newcastle.
Okay.
I think that they will do really well. I think Eddie Howe's got his handle on things, and I think they will still spend some money. I think Tonali's a smashing signing. I think their backline proved last season with their goalkeeper and their back 4 that they've got a solid backline. They concede very few goals. I think they've got some good, exciting players attacking now. I think Tonali will find extra gaps. I think Callum Wilson has found his skin. I think he's finally comfortable in who he is as a footballer. And I think he'll have a similar season next season, if not slightly better than he's had this year.
Okay.
I think supply into him will be better this year from different, not just from wide areas, but through balls from Tonali as well, I think.
Okay.
And I think they will sign somebody else as well.
Okay, very good. I've Liverpool in third. I think they still ooze quality. I think last year was a bit of a hiccup. I still see that powerhouse of a team is still there. Salah came into his own again at the back end of the season. They finished the season incredibly strong. When you see what they were doing in the beginning and the middle of the season to come back as well as they did, Darwin Núñez aside, even their £100 million striker, I don't think he's up to much. I think Gakpo is going to lead the line. Salah coming in from the right, and you're going to have a mixture of either Jota and David Luiz, both of whom I rate very highly, coming in from the left. You combine that with McAllister. We both agree that maybe he's a little bit overrated, but do I think he's a big upgrade on what they had in the midfield last year? Yes. You have that with Szoboszlai. I think Robertson and Trent are still the two of the best fullbacks in the game. And then I think Van Dijk will still have a decent season. Konate will be Konate, and they'll still have their world-class number one goalkeeper. I think that's good enough to get them third. I think they're going to bang in goals. I think the end of last season's Liverpool is what you're going to see, plus a little bit extra, and I think that pushes them into third.
That's the key for me. Well, I had him in sixth, but that's the key with me. I think if Van Dijk has a season that he normally has and not last season, he was a shadow of himself last season, I think then maybe the challenge higher.
I think even with a weak Van Dijk, I think they'll have enough up front and in their midfield to paper over those defensive cracks. I think they are going to pour goals into teams next season.
If it goes well and if it clicks, this is where I just am. I think it'd take a year longer to click. But if it does click, I think it could be an exciting side to watch. Yeah. It will be an exciting side anyway to watch.
For sure. All right, number two.
I have Arsenal. Same again. Yeah. I think they've done really good business so far. I think they'll have learned a huge amount from that. I think they still have a good quality in that team. I don't think there's anything that any manager will have learned about them this year that they didn't know already last year. They're just a good side. You know, I'd love to see Arteta get a couple of touchline bans so he can stop being standing on the pitch when the match is actually happening and get inside his director's box or whatever is his technical area.
Yeah.
But I think they're a good side. But again, this is where I don't like my table, because Liverpool, Manchester United, and Arsenal, I think, are interchangeable in these three positions in sixth, fourth, and second. I do like my third and fifth in Newcastle and Chelsea, but I think the other three could very easily move depending on what happens towards the end of the window. That's where my revised table will come into this. If Arsenal get a number 9 who can score goals, and I heard TalkSport today, which is trash, but I still heard TalkSport today saying that Harry Kane is an option for Arsenal as well. I know. But it was mentioned. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We said, well, that's what they're missing.
Jim White shouting about Kane to Arsenal.
It wasn't Jim White. It was one of the other idiots that are on
Gabby Bonlaho or Simon Jordan or one of them.
I like Simon Jordan.
I actually like Simon Jordan as well. I do.
And I hate that I like him.
I do like him.
And I like for the interacts with people on Twitter as well. Say stupid things. I love his responses.
He's great.
Gabriel Bonlaho is just like a walking, talking arse.
United.
He hates everybody. He does.
So you think Arsenal have enough to get second?
I think if they get number 9, which I think they will, I think that's the only position they're missing now.
As things stand, if they don't get a number 9,
I think they could be fifth or fourth or sixth.
And so you're kind of predictive like me with Spurs. You're kind of doing a predictive.
I mean, I don't think United will get necessarily what they think they're going to get, but if they do, they could finish second or even challenge. Liverpool, if it clicks early, all the new players coming in and the players from last season that didn't work, if it clicks early, could easily finish second. So they're the positions that I'm just not like. I keep looking at this table, and I've scribbled out loads of them and reworked them, and I'm still not happy with.
You have a few scribbles here.
Yeah, so it's for me. I think Arsenal have enough. I still don't think they have enough to beat Manchester City. I don't think anybody has.
Sure. I have United, obviously, in second. I think United were nailed on for second last season. I know Arsenal lost the league by 8 points by the end of they fell off massively. United had to deal with a Cristiano Ronaldo saga. This is all in Ten Hag's first season. Okay, he has a Cristiano Ronaldo saga, which was an absolute disaster. Mason Greenwood court cases, a goalkeeper that was just very inconsistent. Varane and Martinez get injured by the end of the season. He was absolutely crippled with injuries, all sorts of press craziness, and he still managed to get us into a final, win us a cup, and qualify for Europe. I believe with Mason Mount coming in to take some of that strain off Eriksen, I think there's an injected energy into that midfield that was sorely lacking. I think Onana coming in, I think he will be absolutely bananas. I think there's going to be some Barthez level craziness from him, but I think overall he will move the needle in terms of the amount of points and how he plays a team. Mason Mount's a strong addition. We've gotten rid of some deadwood.
More to go.
And there's more to go. And I think Højlund to me isn't enough to move the needle. He's still a child. He's an infant with 9 goals in Serie A. 70 million quid is bananas. I think even this Muani, if we don't get Højlund, we'll get Muani, who's got 1 goal in every 3.5 games playing for Eintracht Frankfurt. He's 24 in the German league. If United go for him for 70, 80 million quid, I'll be crying myself to sleep. If they get Kane, I think they win the league. I think they win the league if they get Harry Kane.
I agree.
We're both first on Man City, but I'm going to have a star beside Man City. You think they're an unstoppable machine, which I think.
I agree, though, if you get Kane, or if Arsenal get Kane, if any of you in those top 6 teams sign Kane, I think that adds something that none of them have that Man City have.
Onana, Varane, Martinez, Casemiro, Mount, Fernandes, and Kane in your spine.
Casemiro needs to get on the diet plan. There's some pretty chunky looking pictures of him.
He has fat face.
And he also has
no. He has fat face. He's like Luke Shaw and Rooney, where they've got fat face and they look fatter. They've a fat guy face. Then they lift up the shirt and they've got pecs and a 6-pack, and you're like, all right, he's got a chipmunk face.
We had Weston McKennie last year who. Burger King.
There you go.
Just always looking paranoid. But what I will say, actually, Luke Shaw, I thought got a hard time off Jose Mourinho because I always just thought Luke Shaw was thick.
And he is.
Just thick,
and he's
not
6'1".
And he can still move.
People think he's like this 5'9", chunky little kind of attacker. He's 6'1".
Just filled.
He's a big boy. City, I have a star beside them because I think Julian Alvarez is not happy playing second fiddle to Haaland. I think he's going to start kicking up a stink. I think Haaland has basically, I know he's only there a season. What else is there for him to do at that club? Okay, do it again. Great. I think it's inevitable he's going to end up at Madrid.
That's already been planned.
Sorry?
It's already planned.
I say it is what they say. They're saying the same with Mbappe.
Alfie said it.
Did he?
He said when he goes to Manchester City, he'll go there for his contract. He'll win everything else, but he'll then move to Spain to win things. He wants to go. He wants to experience football everywhere.
Sure.
So he wants to do a David Beckham on it and pop up in all these.
He'll still be there next year. They've lost Riyad. They were able to rely on an incredibly strong bench, which was full of world-class players. Mahrez, gone. Gundogan, who was instrumental, gone. Foden, very marginalised now. Will he be the player that he was before?
But now he has to step up to be a starting player.
He has to step up, and it didn't look like Guardiola seems to have kind of pulled back his faith in Foden because he just didn't get the game time he did in seasons past. Grealish, while a good player, I still think he's overrated. I think he's absolutely blessed to have been in that team to win what he's won. A very nice player, but is he in the same bracket as Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, or Ilkay Gundogan? In terms of ability or impact on that team?
Impact.
No chance.
Ability, yes. Impact, no.
No. Vardy will be a good signing, but he's going to have 6-7 centre-backs at the back to try and keep happy. I still think they're going to win the league, but there's a huge weight of expectation. A lot of the players will be fat and a little bit happy with what they did last year. They're missing a lot of super subs. I still think they'll win the league, but if United get Kane, I think United pip them.
Yeah, now you've said all the exits from Man City and going... They need to buy some central midfielders.
They bought Kovacic. Does he move the needle? No.
He's not young. He's not young. He's in the back end of his prime.
No. They still got De Bruyne and Rodri and Haaland.
Phillips.
Your boy Phillips. Grealish doesn't really set the world on fire, and they're missing someone on the right side now.
Grealish, yes.
Silva. They still got Silva, but he wants to go. But he wants to go every year.
There's talk that he'll go, yeah. But he's not going to be a starter every week for them either.
He will now.
Well, yeah, that's the point. But they need it more coming into their prime style winger who can be. But who is that? I mean, you could go to Barcelona, probably pick off a couple players.
If they buy another right-sided forward, if I was Bernardo Silva, I would set fire to the place.
There was a very strong rumor that Rafinha could be going from Barcelona to Man City.
I hope he does.
He's a very good player.
Of course, you love him. He's very good, but I
didn't like when he went to Barcelona. I didn't like how it was done. I didn't like how Barcelona carried on. Barcelona are dirt broke.
Yeah,
dirt broke. And they're going to have to shelving is 200 million to get off their books this year before they can register any new players. Something about Kessié going back to Milan or something like that. Rafinha struggled at the start when he went to Barcelona. It's his dream move. Doesn't want to leave. Has said that he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay at Barcelona. It's his dream club. He's a massive Ronaldinho fan. Wants to follow his footsteps, right? However, they might need to sell to do anything.
They'll get a nice chunk out of him.
His finish to the season, his second half of the season in Spain was incredible. I think he won the most assist rates in the league. I think he was one of the top goal scorers that Barcelona had in the league as well. And I think he's proven they can do in the Premier League pretty easily as well. And I think if he comes back into Manchester City side, the only thing for him is that I don't think he will enjoy being in and out of the team. He struggled with that with Barcelona when he was taken off in games. There was videos of him punching the seats in the dugouts, being pissed off.
He's another Bernardo Silva in a way.
He wants to play every minute of every game, and that's just not realistic in the Premier League, especially when you're fighting on four fronts for trophies. Which, how did Man City go better than what they did this year? They win a quadruple next year. That's the only way to go better.
I mean, United finished third after their treble season. They came third. It's hard to maintain that level. I'd say a lot of those players would be exhausted.
Oh, absolutely.
After that. But I still think they have too much quality and too much strength in depth. I think United do need a couple of more players. I mean, we don't just need one striker. We need two. I do think that Højlund is an investment for the future. When you look at the fact that United are going to spend anywhere from what's being reported and what they want, but anywhere between 50 to 65 million on Højlund seems like what United would be willing to pay for a backup striker. What do you think they're going to be paying for their main striker?
That's it, yeah.
And who's that going to be?
Yeah.
Harry Kane.
Or does someone else in a top six take Alvarez if he is annoyed at Man City because he wants to play in the Premier League?
Who?
Alvarez.
Well, Alvarez is not going to be getting ahead of Haaland. He might use Alvarez out on the right, but it's not his position. And Bernardo Silva is way better there. So they could have trouble trying to hang on to Alvarez. I think he could move. Again, he could go to Munich.
Go Spurs.
Or Spurs, or who knows?
Exactly.
But he's a very good player.
Very, very good.
And he should be starting. And I don't think he'll want to be getting. I don't think he'll want to be warming up the bench for City. But I think, given that what United are willing to pay for a young lad, I'm quite excited to know what they're going to spend and who they're going to spend it on a starting striker. And I think it has to be Osimhen or Kane. And I think if they get one of them, they could win. Yeah,
that's where I sit with the Manchester United team. I think if they don't get a number 9 that's going to score them 20 goals, I think they'll be very competitive. I think they'll have goals from elsewhere, but I think they won't have enough to win the title. Or I don't think they'll have enough to break into the top 2.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be very close.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to that. But again, I said the same about Arsenal as well. I think Arsenal have done really good business defensively, but if they can get a number 9 who can score 25 goals a season.
You think they could win?
Done.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they are hungry.
Yeah.
They will be hungry.
Well, that's it. I mean, what do you guys think? Leave comments if you think we're out of our minds.
We are.
Put in your top 4, put in your bottom 3. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to get some feedback from anyone who's watching the video. But I'm looking forward to seeing how these tables turn out.
I fully expect someone in the comments to tell me I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about, and that's absolutely justified.
I hope so.
On the basis of this. No issue with that at all.
I hope so. So yeah, like the video, subscribe if you like our content. We're trying to get this done as often as possible. So if you're enjoying what we're doing, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification button as well if you want to get immediate notifications on when we're going to be bringing stuff out. And see you on the next one.
See you next time. Bye.